Classroom Dynamics is supported by Logitech. As education continues to evolve, so does Logitech Education, your partner in content creation for the classroom. With Logitech's cutting-edge technology, students not only learn but also become content creators. Whether it's in person or online, Logitech's tools are designed to inspire educators and learners alike. Capture every educational moment in stunning detail and edit, produce, and share your creative journey with ease. Logitech Education, inspiring the next generation of creators. For more, visit logitech.com/education, transforming classrooms one innovation at a time. Every classroom has the potential to be extraordinary, and the Logitech Reach adjustable content camera is your partner in making that happen. With its flexible arm and clear video, you can now showcase everything from detailed drawings to live experiments, ensuring that every student is engaged and involved. Whether you're teaching in person or online, Logitech Reach helps you connect with your students in a whole new way. Ready to take your lessons further? Visit logitech.com/reach and elevate your classroom to a whole new level. Welcome to Classroom Dynamics, Bits and Bytes, the podcast within the podcast where we explore cutting-edge technologies and innovative ways to enhance the educational experience. Hi everybody, I'm your host Adam Todd, and today we're tackling a topic that resonates deeply with all educators: mental health. Teaching isn't easy. Nobody ever said it was. And let's face it, if it were, more people would teach and more people would stay in the profession longer. But among the challenges, there's hope, inspiration, and a community to lean on. Teaching is one of the most rewarding professions in the world, but it's also among the most challenging. A 2023 survey from the American Federation of Teachers revealed that nearly 60% of educators identified job-related stress as their top concern, and 44% considered leaving the profession within the first 5 years. These statistics highlight more than just heavy workloads. They reflect the emotional toll of a profession that demands just too much at times, yet often provides just too little when it comes to support. But here's the thing. There's incredible power in acknowledging these challenges and taking proactive steps to care for ourselves. Teaching isn't for the faint of heart. Nobody ever said it was. But it is, however, for the passionate, the resilient, and the creative. And yes, that does include you. Managing stress and workload as a teacher requires intentional effort, but it's achievable. Start with self-care. Even 10 minutes of breathing, stretching, or walking during your lunch break can make a huge difference. Limit after-hours work. Emails can wait, and lessons, they don't have to always be perfect. Delegate tasks by enlisting student helpers for classroom jobs or collaborating with colleagues to share resources. Practice gratitude by keeping a journal. Writing down 3 things you're thankful for every single day can shift your focus from stress to the joys of teaching. And perhaps the most important thing is that you should seek support when it's necessary. Whether it's talking with a trusted colleague or joining an educator support group or even seeking professional help, remember that you're not alone in this journey. Sometimes the right words can lift us up in difficult moments. Consider these quotes. Teaching is the one profession that creates all other professions. Or, the influence of a great teacher can never be erased. And here's one more. You are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. These quotes are reminders of the tremendous impact that you make every single day. Despite the challenges, teaching offers unparalleled moments of joy. Whether it's watching a student grasp a difficult concept for the first time, receiving a heartfelt note from a parent, or witnessing your classroom grow into a community, these moments do matter. Research even shows that teachers report high levels of meaning and purpose in their jobs. And when balanced with self-care, these fulfilling experiences can counteract the stressful days that we encounter all the time. Teaching isn't easy, but you were made for this. Remember to take care of yourself, lean on your community, and celebrate the difference that you're actually making in the world. Now, for more on how to handle the day in and day out of what many consider to be one of the hardest jobs in the world, here are our Google Notebook LM hosts, Bits and Bytes.
Okay, so, hey everyone, welcome back to the deep dive. You know, we always talk about all kinds of different interesting topics, but this one's really important to us.
It is.
And it should be important to you too, because we're focusing on teacher well-being,
Yeah, absolutely.
and teacher mental health and workload, because well, we all know it's a tough job, and so we wanted to take this time to really dig into that.
Yeah, we've gone through a lot of data surveys, some expert opinions, and really try to pull out some practical stuff.
Yeah.
Some actual strategies, things you can do, things that your school can do to support you, and really just kind of get a handle on what the challenges are and how to get through them.
And just to paint a picture for you real quick before we start digging into the details, a 2023 survey by the American Federation of Teachers found that almost 60% of educators said that job-related stress was their number one concern.
Yeah, that's huge.
That's the biggest thing that they worry about. And then you've got a Rand Corporation study, same year, 2023, found that teachers are almost twice as likely to experience frequent job stress as other U.S. workers.
Oh, wow.
So that kind of just highlights the fact that there is a lot of pressure that comes with this job.
Right.
But we're not here to just dwell on the negatives. So
Oh, no.
let's talk about the good stuff, too.
Yeah, let's talk about why we do this in the first place. Because when you think about it, the reason people get into teaching, it's so rewarding.
Yeah.
You get that deep sense of purpose. You get to build real connections with students, and you have the power to actually change lives. I mean, how many careers can say that?
It's true. I mean, there really is something special about those moments. Like when you see that spark when a student gets it, or, you get a note from a parent or a student that's just heartfelt, and you realize you're making a difference. Those are the moments that keep you going.
Yeah, they fuel you. They really do.
But, those sources that we looked at, they make it clear that those really rewarding moments often come alongside some pretty significant challenges.
Right.
We're talking stress, we're talking anxiety, sometimes even depression.
Yeah, feeling inadequate, too.
Absolutely. That feeling of like, am I doing enough? Is this good enough?
And fear of judgment.
Yes, exactly. Like you're constantly being observed and evaluated.
And then you add in just the workload.
The workload. Oh, my God.
It's never ending, right?
It can be overwhelming. And let's not forget about the fact that sometimes the pay isn't what it should be.
Right.
And then there are, unfortunately, sometimes legitimate safety concerns in schools, too.
Yeah, we can't ignore those things.
Absolutely. And that's where that Rand Corporation statistic really hits home the fact that teachers are almost twice as likely to have frequent job stress. It really makes you think about the pressures that are just baked into the profession itself.
Yeah, it's not just a few bad apples or a few bad situations. It's something about the structure of the job.
Exactly. And then when you think about those teachers in the AFT survey, 44% considered leaving the profession in the next 5 years.
Wow, that's almost half.
It is, and it tells you that it's not just about the hours, it's the emotional weight of this job, the constant giving and caring.
Absolutely, you're always empathizing.
Yeah, you have to be turned in to your students' needs all the time. And what our sources suggest is that for many teachers, these mental health challenges aren't coming from outside, they're coming from within the demands of the job itself.
It's inherent to the work.
Yeah, so knowing all of that, it's like, okay, what can we actually do?
Right, we've got to have some solutions.
Yeah, so let's shift gears and talk about strategies for managing stress and workload.
Yeah, because we can't just sit here and complain. We've got to figure out how to make this better.
Exactly, and the sources emphasize that it takes effort.
Okay.
It's about being proactive and intentional, and one of the big things that comes up over and over again is self-care.
Oh, self-care, that's the buzzword, right?
It is, but it's more than just a buzzword. It's about taking those small but consistent actions that can make a real difference in your day.
Like what kind of things are we talking about?
Well, even just 10 minutes.
10 minutes?
Yeah, just 10 minutes of mindful breathing or some stretching or even a quick walk during your break can really help.
See, that's what I struggle with. I feel like I have to be doing something productive every minute of the day.
I know it's hard, but these things aren't indulgences. They're really investments in your well-being.
Okay, I can see that.
And another thing that comes up a lot is boundaries.
Oh, boundaries. Those are tough.
They are, especially for teachers, because you care so much about your students. But those emails, they can wait till tomorrow.
I know, but I feel guilty if I don't respond right away.
I get it, but the sources remind us that it's okay to disconnect and that the world won't end if your lessons aren't perfect every single time.
So give ourselves a break.
Exactly. Protect your time and your energy.
Okay, I like that.
And, another practical thing you can do is delegate.
Delegate? What do you mean?
Well, think about it. Are there tasks in your classroom that students could help with?
Oh, yeah, like passing out papers or collecting homework.
Exactly. Or, maybe you can collaborate with your colleagues more, share resources, lesson plans, things like that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I don't want to reinvent the wheel every time.
Right. And by sharing those responsibilities, you're not only helping yourself, but you're also empowering your students.
Okay, could see that.
And one thing I found really interesting was the focus on gratitude.
Gratitude, like being thankful for things.
Yeah, exactly. And the sources suggest keeping a gratitude journal and just writing down 3 things you're grateful for every day. It can really help to shift your perspective.
Okay, so instead of focusing on all the bad stuff.
Yeah, focus on the good stuff, the things that bring you joy and meaning in your work.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then, of course, they're seeking support.
Support, yeah, that's important.
And it can look different for different people. You know, talk to a colleague that you trust who gets it.
Right, someone who's in the trenches with you.
Exactly. Or, join a support group for educators, or if you need to reach out to a mental health professional.
Yeah, because sometimes you need more than just a friend to talk to.
Exactly. And the important thing is to remember you're not alone.
Right, there are people who care and want to help.
So now let's talk about the connection between a teacher's mental well-being and what happens in their classroom.
Because that's really what it's all about, right, our students?
Right. And the sources highlight how intertwined those two things are. Teachers who are taking care of their own mental health, they tend to bring more empathy to their interactions with students.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
If you're struggling yourself, you're more likely to understand what your students are going through.
And that empathy can create a much more supportive and nurturing environment for everyone.
Yeah, kids can sense when you genuinely care.
Absolutely. And they feel safer, they feel valued, and they feel understood. And that leads to more compassionate teaching.
And more open communication.
Yeah, which are both so crucial for students to grow both emotionally and academically. It's all connected.
It really is. But the sources are very clear about one thing: teachers are not therapists.
Right. We can't be expected to take on that role.
Exactly. And schools need to provide those resources, qualified mental health professionals and support systems for students.
Yeah, we can't be everything to everyone.
Right. And another really important point that the sources bring up is the power of teachers talking openly about their own mental health journeys.
You mean like sharing our own struggles?
Yeah, because that helps to destigmatize mental illness.
It makes it okay to not be okay.
Exactly. And it shows both students and colleagues that seeking help is a sign of strength, not weakness.
Yeah, it normalizes it.
Exactly. And that can encourage others to reach out for support without feeling ashamed.
Right, because we all need help sometimes.
And this ties directly into the role that schools play in suicide prevention.
That's a heavy topic, but so important.
It is. And by creating a culture of trust and having resources available like mental health professionals and crisis hotlines, schools can really make a difference. It's about creating that safety net.
Exactly. And the sources really emphasize that teachers can be powerful advocates for these supports within their schools.
So we have a voice.
We do. We have a responsibility to speak up for what our students need.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit and talk about what schools and administrators can do to create those supportive environments for teachers.
Because they can't all be on us, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It takes a system-wide effort. And one of the key things that comes up in the sources is fostering open and honest conversations about mental health.
So making it okay to talk about these things.
Yeah, creating a space where teachers feel safe to share what they're going through without being judged.
Yeah, because sometimes you just need to vent.
And the sources suggest that school leaders can model that openness, share information about resources, prioritize well-being discussions during staff meetings.
So like instead of just talking about curriculum and test scores.
Right, take a few minutes to check in with each other. Even a simple question like, how are you all managing everything this week can make a big difference.
It shows you care.
It does. And another important point is establishing robust support systems within the school.
What kind of systems?
Well, things like peer mentoring programs.
Oh, yeah. So teachers can support each other.
Exactly. And counseling services, staff, wellness programs, things like mindfulness workshops, stress management training.
Those are all great ideas.
And even access to things like wellness apps and employee assistance programs.
Okay, so a variety of options.
Right, because not everyone is comfortable talking about their struggles in the same way.
And we need to respect that.
Absolutely. And of course, prioritizing work-life balance is huge.
Oh, that's a big one.
It is. And schools need to actively encourage teachers to take breaks, use their sick days without guilt.
Because we need time to recharge.
We do. And self-care is not a luxury, it's a necessity.
I like that.
And, schools can also help by minimizing those after-hours demands like emails and grading.
Yeah, those things can wait.
And streamlining administrative tasks through technology.
Make things easier.
Teachers, are you looking for resources that spark creativity and inspire learning? Look no further than Highly Motivated on Teachers Pay Teachers. From comprehensive lesson plans and interactive lab books to engaging informational test prep passages, Highly Motivated has everything you need to keep your students motivated and excited to learn. Whether it's a quick activity or a full unit, these resources are designed to save you time and help students succeed. Highly Motivated, motivating teaching resources that engage and inspire. Search Highly Motivated on Teachers Pay Teachers today.
You know, if we think bigger picture, implementing more flexible policies can really benefit teachers.
Like what kind of policies?
Well, it could be things like offering more flexibility in teaching assignments. So teachers have some say in what grade levels or subjects they teach.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Or encouraging more flexible approaches to classroom management, you know, things like collaborative problem solving or trauma-informed practices.
Those are great ideas.
And even giving teachers more flexibility in their lesson planning so they can adapt to their own needs and energy levels.
It's about having some control over your work.
Exactly. And, you know, it's also so important to celebrate and acknowledge the hard work and dedication of all teachers.
Yes, appreciate us.
Exactly. Recognize achievements, provide positive feedback, and make sure that recognition is inclusive.
Yeah, not just for the star teachers.
Right. And there are lots of ways to do that. You know, a Teacher of the Month program that includes peer and student nominations, or creating platforms to highlight different kinds of successes.
So everyone feels valued.
Exactly. And ultimately, the sources really bring it back to the need to improve working conditions.
Like tackling those systemic issues.
Yeah, things like excessive workloads, large class sizes, safety concerns. Those are the things that create a truly sustainable teaching environment.
Where teachers can not only survive,
but thrive.
Exactly. And as we start to wrap up, I wanted to share some of the quotes that really stood out to me from the sources.
Oh, I love a good quote.
Me too. One was, "Teaching is the one profession that creates all other professions."
That is so true.
It is. And another one was, "The influence of a great teacher can never be erased."
It's a powerful legacy.
And this one from A.A. Milne really resonated with me. "You are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think."
I needed to hear that today.
I think we all do sometimes because it's easy to forget the impact that we have.
It's a tough job, but it's so worth it.
And the sources remind us that even with all the challenges, there are those moments of pure joy and deep meaning in teaching. You know?
Those little wins that make it all worthwhile.
Exactly. That feeling when a student finally understands something, or a heartfelt note from a parent, or just the sense of community you build in your classroom. And research even shows that teachers consistently report high levels of meaning and purpose in their work.
Yeah, we're making a difference.
And when you prioritize self-care, those positive experiences become even more powerful.
So take care of yourselves, everyone.
Yes, to all the amazing educators out there, you were made for this.
You really were.
Prioritize your well-being. It's not selfish.
Yeah.
It's essential. Lean on your community of fellow teachers and celebrate the incredible difference you make every day.
You are changing lives.
So as we come to the end of this deep dive, let's remember, prioritizing teacher well-being is not just a nice-to-have, it's a must-have.
For teachers, for students, for everyone.
And here's a final thought for you to ponder as you continue your amazing work. Okay, I'm listening.
How can you foster even stronger connections and more open dialogues about mental health in your school community?
That's a good question.
Because by creating that kind of empathetic and supportive environment, we can find innovative solutions and build resilience, not just for ourselves, but for our students too.
That's a great goal to strive for.
It is. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.
And keep up the amazing work.
You're doing great things.
See you next time. Bye.
For more on Classroom Dynamics, follow us on X at Class Dynamics or on Instagram at Classroom Dynamics Podcast. And be sure to search Classroom Dynamics on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast shows.